Sir, I'm gonna need to see some ID. Are you a guest here?
I just checked in 20 minutes ago, sir.
We got a call about someone who doesn't belong. You fit the description. Prove you're a guest.
Prove I'm a guest? I'm holding my room key. What more do you need?
That key card could be stolen for all I know. There's something off.
Deputy U.S. Marshal Terrence Cole.
Deputy Marshal Terrence Cole was in Chicago on federal assignment. Multi-agency fugitive task force. High-profile escaped convict. The kind of operation that required coordination between the Marshal's Service, FBI, and local law enforcement. He had checked into the Langham, Chicago 20 minutes earlier, received his room keycard, and was walking toward the elevator when Officer Brett Hannigan intercepted him. Prove you're a guest. Cole held up the keycard. That could be stolen. Cole maintained the composure that had carried him through 11 years of hunting dangerous fugitives. Then he reached into his jacket, produced his U.S. Marshal's badge, and asked the question that ended Hannigan's career. I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Terrence Cole. I'm here on federal assignment. Now let me see your badge. The hotel security camera captured everything. The rookie who couldn't imagine a black man belonged in a luxury hotel. The federal agent who proved exactly where he belonged. $18.9 million. And a fugitive captured 3 days later by the marshal who wasn't supposed to fit the clientele. The Langham, Chicago occupied prime real estate in River North. A 5-star property where rooms started at $800 a night, and the lobby gleamed with marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the quiet confidence of old money. The clientele expected discretion. They expected service. They expected to be surrounded by people who looked like them. Deputy U.S. Marshal Terrence Cole had arrived on a government reservation. Standard protocol for federal operations. The Marshal's Service booked rooms for task force personnel at approved properties. The Langham was on the list. His assignment was waiting. 11 years with the United States Marshal's Service. Fugitive Task Force. Over 200 high-profile apprehensions, escaped convicts, federal warrant subjects, the most dangerous individuals the justice system had lost track of. Before that, 5 years as a Baltimore PD detective. The Director's Award for Excellence in Fugitive Investigations. Certified Firearms Instructor. Defensive Tactics Trainer. Morgan State University. Bachelor's in Criminal Justice. Johns Hopkins. Master's in Homeland Security. Raised in West Baltimore by a single mother who worked 2 jobs. First in his family to graduate college. The tailored charcoal suit was new. Purchased for courtroom testimony 2 months earlier. The leather overnight bag held everything he needed for the operation. 3 days in Chicago. Early morning briefings. Coordinated surveillance. The capture of a man who had escaped federal custody 6 weeks ago. Check-in had been seamless. The concierge was professional, welcoming. Mr. Cole, we have you in room 1847. Excellent view of the river. Is there anything else you need this evening? Just some rest before an early morning. Of course. Elevators are to your left. Have a wonderful stay. He had walked 20 feet toward the elevator bank when he noticed the woman watching him. Diane Mercer, 62 years old. Penthouse suite. The kind of guest who measured her worth by the deference others showed her. She stood near the reception desk, eyes tracking Cole's movement across the lobby with an expression that suggested offense. She approached the front desk manager, a nervous man in his 30s named Gerald Patterson. That man. She gestured toward Cole. He doesn't look like he belongs here. Ma'am, I don't recognize him. He doesn't fit in with the clientele. I think you should do something. Patterson looked toward Cole. He saw a black man in a tailored suit walking toward the elevators. He saw what Diane Mercer saw. He did not check the registration system. He did not verify whether Cole was a guest. He did not consider that a man walking calmly through the lobby with a keycard in his hand might actually be staying at the hotel. He picked up the phone. I'd like to report a suspicious individual in the lobby. Black male, late 30s, gray suit. He doesn't appear to be a guest. Officer Brett Hannigan was moonlighting hotel security that evening. 10 weeks on the force. Eager to prove himself. He responded within 3 minutes. The hotel security camera captured the encounter from above, wide angle, both subjects visible. Cole stood near the elevator bank, room keycard in his right hand, overnight bag at his feet. Hannigan approached from the left, posture aggressive, hand already resting near his belt. Sir, I'm going to need to see some ID. Are you a guest here? Cole turned. His expression shifted from mild confusion to the controlled assessment of someone who recognized exactly what was happening. I just checked in 20 minutes ago, sir. He held up the keycard. Room 1847. the magnetic strip gleaming under the chandelier light. Hennigan didn't acknowledge it. We got a call about someone who doesn't belong. You fit the description. Prove you're a guest. Prove I'm a guest? Cole's eyes narrowed. I'm holding my room key. What more do you need? That key card could be stolen for all I know. Stolen? Cole's voice remained level, the composure that had carried him through 200 fugitive apprehensions. You think I stole a key card and decided to loiter in the lobby rather than go to the room? There's something off here. The only thing off is an officer questioning a paying guest for standing near an elevator. Hennigan stepped closer. His Bodycam was running. Axon Body 2, standard issue, recording everything his chest faced. The hotel security camera captured the same encounter from above. I'm going to need you to come with me to verify your status. My status is registered guest. You can verify that by walking 50 feet to the front desk and asking them to check the system. That's not how this works. Actually, that's exactly how this works. Standard hotel protocol. Guest verification through the registration database. Takes 30 seconds. I don't need you telling me protocol. Apparently someone does. Cole's overnight bag sat at his feet. His keycard remained visible in his hand. His tailored suit, the kind of attire that should have signaled legitimacy in a luxury property, apparently signaled nothing to an officer who had already decided what he was looking at. Sir, where did you get that keycard? From the concierge. 20 minutes ago, after he processed my government reservation. Government reservation. I'm here on federal business. Hennigan's lip curled. The security camera captured the sneer. Federal business. Right. And I'm the FBI director. You're not. But I'm happy to wait while you verify my credentials. Your credentials? My credentials. Cole's hand moved slowly toward his jacket. The deliberate motion of someone who understood how encounters could escalate. I'm reaching into my inside pocket. I'm going to show you something that will clarify this situation. Hennigan's hand moved to his weapon. Not drawing, but ready. Move slowly. I always do. Other guests had stopped to watch. A couple near the bar. A family returning from dinner. A businessman with his phone raised, already recording. The lobby of the Langham Chicago had become a stage. The security cameras were rolling. The phones were recording. And a 10-week rookie was about to discover that the black man he had decided didn't belong was more law enforcement than he would ever be. Cole's hand emerged from his jacket holding a leather credential case. He opened it. The badge gleamed under the chandelier light. United States Marshal Service. I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Terrence Cole. The words landed with the weight of 11 years and 200 apprehensions. I'm here on federal assignment. Multi-agency fugitive task force. My operation briefing is at 5 a.m. tomorrow. He held the badge steady. The security camera captured it clearly. So did Hennigan's body cam. So did the phones of guests who had stopped to watch. Now let me see your badge. Hennigan's face had gone pale. The sneer was gone. The certainty was gone. What remained was the dawning recognition of catastrophe. There was a call. Badge number. Now. And your supervisor's name. Sir, I was responding to a complaint. I didn't ask about the complaint. I asked for your badge number and your supervisor's name. Those are simple requests. A 10-week rookie should be able to handle them. Hennigan's hand had dropped from his weapon. It hung at his side now. The posture of someone who had lost control of a situation they never should have initiated. Badge 7734. My supervisor is Sergeant Morrison. Sergeant Morrison. Cole produced his phone with his free hand. I'm going to make a call now. You're going to stand there and not move. He dialed a number from memory. Commander? It's Cole. I've got a situation at the hotel. I need you to contact the Chicago field office and send someone to the Langham. I also need you to reach out to Chicago PD's duty supervisor. He listened briefly. Yes, sir. I'm fine. But there's going to be an incident report, and the officer involved is going to need representation. He ended the call. The hotel manager, a woman in her 50s named Victoria Chun, rushed over from the reception area. Her face carried the horror of someone watching her property become the subject of national news. Sir, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened here. What happened is your staff called police on a registered guest without bothering to check whether he was registered. That's not our protocol. Then your protocol failed. I checked in 20 minutes ago. My name is in your system. My room number is in your system. My federal agency affiliation is in your system. All anyone had to do was look. The front desk manager made a call without verification. That's a training failure. That's a policy failure. That's going to be a legal matter. Chen's face went gray. We will cooperate fully with any. You will. And you'll start by providing me with copies of all security footage from the past hour. Lobby cameras, elevator bank, front desk, everything. Of course. Cole turned back to Hannigan. You're going to wait here until your supervisor arrives. You're not going to touch your body cam. You're not going to delete anything. You're not going to contact anyone except through official channels. I was just doing my job. Your job was to verify a complaint before acting on it. You didn't do that. Your job was to treat a paying guest with basic dignity. You didn't do that either. Your job was to recognize that a black man in a nice suit might actually belong in a nice hotel. Cole picked up his overnight bag. You failed at all of it. Blue lights appeared through the lobby windows. A Chicago PD supervisor responding to the call Cole had triggered through his command chain. Behind them, the elevator chimed. More guests emerging. More phones appearing. More witnesses to what had happened in the lobby of the Langham Chicago. That's your sergeant, Cole said. This is about to become a very long night for you. Sergeant David Morrison arrived first. 20-year veteran. The kind of officer who recognized disaster the moment he walked through the doors. He saw the deputy marshal badge still in Cole's hand. He saw Hannigan standing frozen near the elevators. He saw the hotel manager wringing her hands. He saw the guests with phones raised. Deputy Marshal Cole? Sergeant Morrison, can you tell me what happened? Cole walked him through it. The check-in, the approach, the demand to prove he was a guest, the dismissal of his keycard, the accusation that it could be stolen, the sneer when he mentioned federal business. Morrison listened without interrupting. When Cole finished, he turned to Hannigan. Officer, is that account accurate? Sarge, I was responding to a call. Is what he said accurate? Silence. Your body cam was running. The hotel has security footage. I'll have access to both within the hour. Is what Deputy Marshal Cole said accurate? Hannigan's voice was small. Yes. Morrison closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, his expression had hardened. You're relieved of your security detail. Return to the precinct. Do not discuss this with anyone. Internal Affairs will contact you. Sarge, that's an order. Hannigan walked toward the exit. His 10-week career had effectively ended, though the paperwork would take longer. A second vehicle arrived, unmarked, federal plates. Deputy Commander Sarah Walsh, U.S. Marshals Service Chicago Field Office. She had received Cole's call and responded personally. TC, you all right? I'm fine. But this hotel has some explaining to do. Walsh surveyed the scene with the practiced eye of someone who had seen institutional failures before. Let's get the facts documented. Cole turned to Victoria Chun. I want to know who made the call to police. I want to know what was said. And I want to know why no one checked whether I was a registered guest before assuming I was trespassing in your lobby. Chen's composure had cracked entirely. The front desk manager, Gerald Patterson, made the call. He said a guest complained about. About what? About someone who didn't look like they belonged. Didn't look like they belonged. Cole let the words hang. And he didn't think to check the registration system. He should have. It's policy. I don't know why he didn't. I do. The woman who had started it all was still in the lobby. Diane Mercer had watched the entire scene unfold from near the bar, her face cycling through confusion, concern, and finally, something approaching fear. Walsh noticed her. Is that the guest who made the original complaint? I believe so, Chen confirmed. We'll need to speak with her. Cole picked up his overnight bag for the second time that evening. I'm going to my room now. The room I paid for. The room I was assigned 20 minutes ago. I have a briefing at 5 a.m. for a federal operation that doesn't care about any of this. He looked at Chun. I don't want your apologies. I don't want a sweet upgrade. I want accountability. And I want your security footage preserved before anyone decides this incident should disappear. It will be preserved. You have my word. Your word. Cole walked toward the elevator. I've heard a lot of words tonight. None of them were, I'm sorry for assuming you didn't belong. The elevator doors opened. He stepped inside. I'll be expecting that footage by morning. The doors closed. Deputy Marshal Terrence Cole finally reached his room, 47 minutes after checking in, and one federal civil rights case closer to changing how luxury hotels treated black guests. The investigation moved with the velocity of a case involving a federal law enforcement officer. The hotel security footage was in FBI hands within 24 hours. Hannigan's body cam provided a second angle. Guest phone recordings added at least 3 more perspectives. The front desk phone records confirmed the call to police. The registration system proved Cole had checked in before the encounter began. The evidence was overwhelming. The patterns revealed were worse. Officer Brett Hannigan had washed out of the police academy the first time. Attitude problems was the documented reason. Difficulty accepting correction, hostility toward female instructors, comments that raised concerns about bias. He should have been permanently disqualified. His uncle was a precinct captain. Hannigan got a second chance. He graduated near the bottom of his class. He was assigned to a district with minimal supervision. He started moonlighting hotel security within 6 weeks. His social media accounts told the rest of the story. Posts mocking diversity hires in law enforcement. Comments about certain people not belonging in nice places. Shares from accounts that trafficked in racial grievance and resentment. His stop records were surgical in their bias. 7 civilian contacts in 10 weeks. All 7 involved Black or Hispanic individuals. 0 arrests. 0 citations. Just stops. Demands for ID. Questions about what people were doing in spaces Hannigan had decided they didn't belong. Gerald Patterson, the front desk manager who had called police, had done the same thing twice before. 2 Black guests. 2 calls to police. 2 instances where verification through the registration system would have taken 30 seconds. 2 instances where he chose to call law enforcement instead. Both previous guests had complained to hotel management. Both complaints had been dismissed as misunderstandings. Diane Mercer's history emerged last and proved the most damaging. She had filed similar complaints at luxury establishments across 3 states. Black guests at country clubs. Hispanic staff at upscale restaurants. Anyone whose presence offended her expectation of what certain spaces should look like. 14 documented complaints over 5 years. 0 legitimate concerns. A pattern of weaponizing staff and police against minorities in spaces she considered hers. The Langham Chicago issued a statement within 72 hours, apologizing for the incident, announcing an internal review, committing to enhanced training. The U.S. Marshals Service issued its own statement, condemning the treatment of Deputy Marshal Cole, demanding accountability, making clear that attacks on federal agents, whether physical or dignitary, were attacks on the institution itself. The FBI Civil Rights Division opened a formal investigation. The charges under consideration: deprivation of rights under color of law, civil rights violations, conspiracy between the officer, the hotel, and the guest who had initiated the complaint. Cole provided testimony over 2 days. He walked through every moment of the encounter with the precision that had made him one of the Marshals Service's most effective investigators. When asked how he had remained calm while being interrogated in a hotel lobby, his answer made national news. "I've faced armed fugitives. I've entered buildings not knowing if I would come out. I've spent 11 years in situations where losing composure could cost lives. A rookie cop who couldn't imagine I belonged somewhere? That's not a threat. That's an inconvenience." The federal civil lawsuit was filed 8 weeks after the incident. Cole versus Hannigan, City of Chicago, the Langham Chicago, and Diane Mercer, Northern District of Illinois. The complaint was 54 pages long. The federal courtroom drew national attention. The case had become a symbol. A deputy U.S. Marshal interrogated in a luxury hotel lobby for the crime of being Black while holding his own room key. The security footage was played first. Multiple angles synchronized. The jury watched Cole walk calmly toward the elevator. They watched Hannigan intercept him. They watched the keycard dismissed as possibly stolen. They watched the sneer. They watched the badge emerge. "I'm Deputy U.S. Marshal Terrence Cole. I'm here on federal assignment. Now let me see your badge." The prosecutor paused at that moment. Deputy Marshal Cole had to prove his credentials to be treated with dignity. He had to pull out a federal badge to establish that he belonged in a hotel lobby. A room key wasn't enough. A tailored suit wasn't enough. The only thing that mattered was his skin color, and for Officer Hannigan, that was disqualifying. Hotel employees testified under subpoena. They described the unwritten expectations, the pressure to monitor certain guests, the understanding that complaints from wealthy white patrons carried more weight than the dignity of Black visitors. "We were told to be attentive," one bellhop testified. But attentive meant different things for different guests. Cole testified in his Marshal's Service dress uniform. 11 years of service displayed across his chest. Director's Award visible among the decorations. "I've dedicated my life to law enforcement. I've apprehended fugitives who had hurt people, killed people, destroyed families. I've put my life on the line for a system I believe in." He paused. "And I was interrogated in a hotel lobby for holding my own room key, because someone decided I didn't fit the clientele." His wife testified next. Monica Cole, federal prosecutor, 15 years with the Department of Justice. She described the call she received that night. The fear, the anger, the conversation with their sons about why Daddy had been stopped. "My husband hunts the most dangerous people in America, and I have to worry about him being safe in a hotel lobby." Diane Mercer's deposition was played for the jury. Her attorney had advised against live testimony. The video was damaging enough. "Why did you complain about Mr. Cole? He didn't look like he belonged." "What does someone who belongs at the Langham look like?" Silence. "Mrs. Mercer? You know what I mean. I'd like you to say it." She didn't. The jury didn't need her to. Hannigan's attorney attempted the standard defense. Good faith response to a complaint. No way to know. Training deficiency. The prosecutor's rebuttal was surgical. He couldn't have known. Deputy Marshal Cole told him he was a federal officer. He showed him a room key. He invited verification through the front desk. Officer Hannigan didn't want to know. He had already decided. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Liable on all counts. All defendants. Damages against Officer Hannigan and the City of Chicago, $7 million. Damages against the Langham Chicago, $8 million. Damages against Diane Mercer personally, $3.9 million. Total, $18.9 million. The verdict made national news within the hour. The aftermath reshaped careers, institutions, and an industry. Officer Brett Hannigan was terminated the day after the verdict. His law enforcement certification was permanently revoked. The criminal charges that followed, civil rights violations under color of law, resulted in 2 years federal probation and 500 hours of community service. He would never wear a badge again. Gerald Patterson was terminated by the Langham Chicago. His pattern of calling police on black guests, documented across 3 incidents, made him unemployable in luxury hospitality. Diane Mercer faced the most personal consequences. The $3.9 million judgment forced her to liquidate assets. The vacation properties in Aspen and Martha's Vineyard sold to satisfy the verdict. Her name became synonymous with the kind of casual racism that destroyed lives while pretending to protect them. The Langham Chicago implemented comprehensive reforms. Mandatory anti-bias training for all staff. New protocols requiring guest verification before any law enforcement contact. A review board for complaints that pattern-matched previous incidents. The hotel settled a class action lawsuit from other black guests who had experienced similar treatment. Terms confidential, but the internal changes spoke to the scope of the problem. Deputy Marshal Terrence Cole distributed the verdict with purpose. $5 million established the Dignity and Service Foundation, supporting minority law enforcement officers facing discrimination. The organization would provide legal resources, counseling, and career support for those who protected others while being denied protection themselves. $2 million funded hospitality industry training programs on implicit bias, ensuring that front desk managers across the country would learn what Gerald Patterson never understood. The remaining funds secured his family's future. College savings for his sons. Security for Monica. The stability that service should have always guaranteed. The U.S. Marshals Service created the Cole Protocol, new guidelines for hotels housing federal agents on assignment. Properties that wanted government business would have to demonstrate anti-discrimination policies that prevented what happened at the Langham. 3 days after the incident, Deputy Marshal Cole led his task force to the successful capture of the escaped convict he had come to Chicago to find. The operation went flawlessly. The fugitive was apprehended without incident. The mission that had brought Cole to the Langham was completed with the same professionalism he had demonstrated in the lobby. 6 months after the verdict, he was promoted to Supervisory Deputy U.S. Marshal. He now oversees fugitive operations across the Midwest region, the same territory where he was once questioned for standing in a hotel lobby. Brett Hannigan works as a warehouse security guard in suburban Chicago. His applications to other law enforcement agencies have been automatically rejected. His uncle, the captain who helped him into the academy, took early retirement to avoid association with the case. The Langham Chicago is now recognized as an industry leader in hospitality equity training. The incident that destroyed its reputation became the foundation for reforms that rebuilt it. Deputy Marshal Terrence Cole still travels for federal operations. He still stays in hotels on government assignment. He still walks through lobbies with the confidence of a man who has apprehended 200 fugitives and faced down threats that make racist guests look trivial. His room key works the same as everyone else's. The difference is that now, everyone knows it. 11 years of service. 200 apprehensions. One incident that cost a hotel $8 million and taught an industry that black guests aren't suspicious, they're customers. The keycard was never the question. The question was why anyone thought they needed to ask. Deputy Marshal Terrence Cole answered it. $18.9 million clearly.
Ma'am, step away from the vehicle and let me see some ID.
Why the hell should I give you ID in my driveway?
Your driveway? In this neighborhood? I don't think so.
Excuse me? My family's been in Chicago for 5 generations.
Why don't you get the hell from here and stop causing problems?
Margaret Hollis had called 911 47 times in 5 years. Every call reported suspicious activity. Every call targeted black or Hispanic neighbors. Every call was unfounded. Dr. Camille Thornton was call number 48. A black woman breaking into the Thornton house. Except Dr. Thornton was the owner, carrying groceries in her own driveway with her 11-year-old daughter. Officer Ryan Kowalski responded with 13 weeks of training and a lifetime of assumptions. He demanded her papers. He asked if she was allowed to be in this country. When she explained her family had been in Chicago since 1918, great-great-grandfather from the stockyards, grandfather a Tuskegee airman, father a firefighter for 32 years, he told her to go back to your country and stop causing problems. Her daughter screamed when he grabbed her mother's wrist. Her security cameras captured everything. 47 calls. 1 jury verdict. $19.7 million. The Lincoln Park brownstone had been Dr. Thornton's dream since medical school. Red brick. Black shutters. 3 stories of Chicago history in a neighborhood where homes sold for what most people earned in a lifetime. She had saved for years. 14 years of medical practice at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, one of the nation's busiest trauma centers. 8 years of military service before that. 2 deployments to Iraq. 1 to Afghanistan. A Bronze Star earned treating wounded soldiers under enemy fire at a forward operating base while rockets exploded around her. Dr. Camille Thornton, 42 years old. Board-certified emergency medicine physician and trauma surgeon. Former U.S. Army captain. Born on the south side of Chicago. Her family had lived in the city for 5 generations. Great-great-grandfather arriving in 1918 during the Great Migration, working the stockyards that built Chicago's meatpacking industry. His son had become a Tuskegee airman, fighting for America in World War II. His grandson had served 32 years as a Chicago firefighter. The Thorntons were Chicago. Always had been. This Saturday afternoon, she had finished a brutal 48-hour trauma shift, the kind that left surgeons questioning whether they had anything left to give. Then she had picked up her daughter Zoe from soccer practice, listening to the 11-year-old describe her game-winning goal with the enthusiasm that made everything worthwhile. They were laughing as they pulled into the driveway. Mother and daughter. Groceries in the trunk. Home waiting. The woman watching from 3 doors down didn't see any of that. Margaret Hollis was 68 years old. She had lived in Lincoln Park for 40 years. She had watched the neighborhood change. She had opinions about those changes. And she had a phone. She dialed 911 at 3:33 p.m. There's a black woman I don't recognize breaking into the Thornton house on Fullerton. She's got a child with her. They're taking things out of a car. The dispatcher asked for clarification. I don't know her. I've never seen her before. She doesn't belong here. Hollis had lived 3 doors down from the Thorntons for 3 years. She had seen Dr. Thornton dozens of times. She had called police on her twice before, both times unfounded. She had chosen not to recognize her. Officer Ryan Kowalski was dispatched at 3:34 p.m. 13 weeks on the force. Recent academy graduate. Eager to prove himself on calls that more experienced officers would have resolved in 30 seconds. Dr. Thornton was lifting grocery bags from the trunk when the patrol car pulled up. Zoe was already carrying 2 bags toward the front door, soccer uniform still on under her jacket. The residential security camera mounted near the entrance captured everything. Wide angle, clear daylight, no shadows. Timestamp, 15 hours, 35 minutes, and 22 seconds. A young officer stepped out of the cruiser. His hand moved to his belt before his feet hit the pavement. His Bodycam activated with a soft beep. "Ma'am, step away from the vehicle. Let me see some ID." Dr. Thornton turned, grocery bag in hand, Northwestern Medicine hoodie identifying exactly where she worked. "This is my car. Why the hell should I give you ID in my driveway?" Kowalski's Bodycam synced with the residential security camera, two angles on the same encounter, neither leaving room for ambiguity. "Your driveway?" His tone carried skepticism that both cameras captured clearly. "In this neighborhood? I don't think so." Dr. Thornton set the grocery bag on the trunk's edge. Her posture shifted, the controlled response of someone who had managed crisis situations in combat zones and trauma base. "Excuse me. I said I don't think so. This is a nice area. Expensive homes. I'm aware. I bought one. You bought a house here 3 years ago, after saving for a decade. Is there something I can help you with, officer?" Zoe had stopped near the front steps, grocery bag still in her hands. She watched the exchange with an expression that shifted from confusion to fear. "We got a call about a break-in at this address." "A break-in?" Dr. Thornton gestured to her hoodie, to the Range Rover, to the open trunk filled with grocery bags. "Does this look like a break-in to you? I need to verify you're supposed to be here. Where are you from?" "Chicago. Originally. Born at Northwestern Memorial, the same hospital where I now work as a trauma surgeon." "Where are you really from?" The question landed in the afternoon air. The security camera recorded Dr. Thornton's expression, the moment confusion gave way to recognition of exactly what was happening. "I'm really from Chicago. The South Side. My family has been here for 5 generations." "Sure they have." Kowalski stepped closer. His hand remained near his belt. "I need to see some papers. Proof you're allowed to be in this country." "Papers?" Dr. Thornton's voice carried the controlled fury of a woman who had treated wounded soldiers while rockets exploded around her. "I'm an American citizen. 4th-generation Chicagoan. I don't carry papers to prove my citizenship in my own driveway." "That's what they all say." "What they all say? Who is they?" "If you can't prove you belong here." "My great-great-grandfather came to Chicago in 1918. He worked the stockyards. My grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman in World War II. My father was a Chicago firefighter for 32 years. I served 8 years in the U.S. Army, including 2 combat deployments. I earned a Bronze Star treating wounded soldiers under enemy fire." She gestured to the brownstone behind her. "This is my home. This is my neighborhood. This is my country." Kowalski's face flushed. The Bodycam captured it, the reaction of someone whose assumptions were being challenged by facts. His response came with a sneer that both cameras documented clearly. "Why don't you go back to your country and stop causing problems?" The words hung in the afternoon air. Security camera. Bodycam. Every syllable preserved. "Go back to my country? I was born 3 miles from here. We don't need your kind here." "My kind?" "My grandfather flew planes to defeat Nazis while America wouldn't serve him at lunch counters. My father pulled bodies from burning buildings for 32 years. What exactly is my kind? You know what I mean. I want you to say it clearly. For the cameras." "What cameras?" Dr. Thornton pointed to her security system, to his Bodycam, to the neighbor across the street who had emerged onto his porch with his phone raised. "All of them." Kowalski turned, saw the neighbor recording, saw the cameras he hadn't noticed. His hand moved toward Dr. Thornton's phone as she reached for it. What happened next would be captured from 3 angles. Kowalski moved before she could activate the recording. His hand closed around her wrist, aggressive, twisting, and yanked the phone from her grip. The device hit the driveway and cracked against the concrete. The screen shattered. The case split. Zoe screamed. "Mom. Stay back, baby. Stay back. You just destroyed my property." Dr. Thornton's voice remained controlled despite the pain in her wrist. "That's assault and destruction of evidence. You were making a threatening movement." "I was opening my camera app." The security camera captured everything. The grab, the twist, the phone shattering. Kowalski's Bodycam showed the moment from his perspective, his hand entering the frame, the device falling. The neighbor, David Morrison, retired architect, 15 years in the neighborhood, shouted from his porch while recording. "That's Dr. Thornton. She lives here. What are you doing?" Kowalski ignored him. "Turn around. Hands on the vehicle." "I've done nothing wrong." "I said turn around." He grabbed her arm, the same wrist he had twisted, and spun her toward the Range Rover. Her hip struck the bumper. Her palms hit the trunk. Zoe ran toward them, tears streaming. Stop. Stop hurting my mom. Stay back, kid. That's my daughter. Dr. Thornton's voice carried through gritted teeth. She's 11 years old. She's watching you assault her mother in her own driveway. She's watching her mother resist a lawful order. There's nothing lawful about this. I'm a trauma surgeon. I served 2 tours in Iraq. I have a Bronze Star. I've saved more lives than you'll ever know. Then go back to your country and be a hero there. Morrison was already dialing. 911. I need a supervisor at 2847 Fullerton immediately. One of your officers is assaulting a woman in her own driveway. Her daughter is watching. The woman is Dr. Thornton. She's a surgeon at Northwestern. She owns the house. This needs to stop right now. Kowalski's search found nothing. No weapons. No contraband. No evidence of any crime. He released her arms. You can go. I can go into my own house. Dr. Thornton turned slowly, rubbing her wrist where his grip had left red marks. You assault me, destroy my phone, traumatize my daughter, and now I can go. Ma'am, my name is Dr. Thornton. You can address me properly. This was a misunderstanding. This was racial profiling. You demanded my papers. You told me to go back to my country. You assaulted me in front of my child. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a federal civil rights violation. Sirens approached. The supervisor Morrison had demanded, "Let me explain something to you." Dr. Thornton picked up her shattered phone from the driveway. I've performed surgery on soldiers while mortars landed 50 feet away. I don't panic. I don't lose composure. That's what makes me good at my job. She looked at Zoe, sobbing on the front steps. But my 11-year-old daughter just watched a police officer assault me for carrying groceries. She's going to have nightmares about this. She's going to wonder if she's safe in her own home. She turned back to Kowalski. And you're going to answer for that. The supervisor's vehicle stopped at the curb. The door opened. Sergeant Patricia Okonkwo stepped out. 22 years on the force. She assessed the scene in seconds. The woman in the Northwestern hoodie, the sobbing child, the neighbor with his phone raised, the rookie officer standing alone. What's happening here? Sergeant, I responded to a burglary call. Officer, I'm asking her. Okonkwo turned to Dr. Thornton. Her posture conveyed respect, the approach of someone who understood how to de-escalate. Ma'am, can you tell me what happened? Dr. Thornton's voice carried the precision of someone accustomed to delivering facts under pressure. I'm Dr. Camille Thornton. This is my home. I was unloading groceries with my daughter when your officer demanded to see my papers and asked if I was allowed to be in this country. When I explained I was born in Chicago, he told me to go back to my country. When I tried to record the interaction, he grabbed my wrist, destroyed my phone, and forced me against my own vehicle. Okonkwo looked at Kowalski, at his Bodycam, at the security camera mounted on the brownstone. Is that accurate? Sergeant, she was being uncooperative. Is what she said accurate? Silence. Your Bodycam recorded this entire encounter. Her security system recorded it. The neighbor across the street recorded it. Is what she said accurate? Kowalski didn't answer. Ma'am, do you have identification confirming your residence? Inside. I'll get it. Dr. Thornton walked into her own home for the first time since arriving. She returned with 3 items. Driver's license showing her address. Hospital badge showing her name. Military ID showing her rank and service. Okonkwo examined each one. Her expression darkened with every document. U.S. Army Captain. Combat deployments. Bronze Star. For treating wounded soldiers under enemy fire at a forward operating base in Afghanistan. Okonkwo turned to Kowalski. Her voice carried something beyond anger. The contempt of someone watching a colleague disgrace the badge. You just told an Army veteran and trauma surgeon to go back to her country. In Chicago, where she was born, where her family has lived for over 100 years. Sergeant, I didn't know. You didn't ask. You assumed. You saw a black woman in a nice neighborhood and decided she didn't belong. You demanded her papers. You told her to leave her own country. She extended her hand. Your badge. Your weapon. Now, Sergeant, you're relieved of duty effective immediately. Internal Affairs will contact you. Hand them over. Kowalski's hands trembled as he unclipped his badge. The weapon followed, surrendered on a quiet street in Lincoln Park, while 3 cameras recorded. Okonkwo took both without ceremony. Wait in my vehicle. Do not speak. Kowalski walked away. His 13-week career had ended in a driveway. Okonkwo turned back to Dr. Thornton. Doctor, I cannot adequately express how sorry I am. This violates everything we're supposed to stand for. Do you know who called this in? The 9/11 recording will be part of the investigation. Her name is Margaret Hollis. 3 doors down. She's called police on me before, twice in 3 years. Both times unfounded. We'll examine her entire call history. You'll find a pattern. Dr. Thornton walked to the front steps, where Zoe sat crying. She gathered her daughter in her arms. It's okay, baby. It's over. Why did he hurt you? Because he saw what he expected to see, not what was actually there. But you're a doctor. You help people. I know, baby. Are we safe here? Dr. Thornton looked at her brownstone. The home she had dreamed of. The neighborhood she had earned. This is our home. Nobody is going to make us feel like we don't belong. She looked at Okonkwo. I want copies of all footage. And I want the name of the best civil rights attorney in Chicago. The Bodycam footage was in FBI hands within 48 hours. The residential security camera provided a second angle. Morrison's phone added a third. The 911 call completed the picture. All 4 recordings went viral within days. 70 million views across platforms. The phrase, "go back to your country," became a hashtag. The image of a trauma surgeon in a Northwestern hoodie being forced against her Range Rover became the defining visual of racial profiling for months. But the footage only told part of the story. The investigation revealed the rest. Officer Ryan Kowalski had been rejected twice by Chicago PD before being hired during a staffing shortage. Both rejections cited concerns about cultural sensitivity and implicit bias indicators. When manpower reached critical levels, those concerns were waived. His social media accounts contained posts that would have disqualified any properly vetted candidate. Anti-immigrant rhetoric shared without comment. Comments celebrating deportations. Memes mocking diversity hires and anchor babies. One post, made 6 months before the Thornton incident. Real Americans are getting replaced in their own neighborhoods. Someone needs to remind these people who this country belongs to. His stop records showed the pattern. 24 civilian contacts in 13 weeks. 20 involved Black or Hispanic individuals. 0 arrests. 0 citations. Just stops. Demands for ID. Questions about citizenship. Systematic harassment of people who had committed no crime. Margaret Hollis's 911 history revealed something worse. 47 calls over 5 years. Every call reported suspicious activity. Every call targeted Black or Hispanic neighbors. Every call was unfounded. A Black family moving in, possible burglary in progress. A Hispanic landscaping crew, unauthorized workers. A Black teenager waiting for a bus, suspicious person casing houses. 47 calls. 47 times dispatch had responded. 47 times officers had questioned people whose only crime was existing while non-white in Margaret Hollis's field of vision. The pattern had been documented in dispatch records for years. No one had connected the dots until now. Northwestern Memorial Hospital issued a statement within 72 hours. Full support for Dr. Thornton. Pride in their colleagues' service record. Condemnation of the officer's conduct. The U.S. Army Veterans Association issued its own statement, deploring the treatment of a decorated combat veteran, demanding accountability. Dr. Thornton's 89-year-old grandfather gave an interview to local news. James Thornton Sr., Tuskegee Airman, one of the last surviving members of the legendary unit. I flew bombers over Germany to defeat fascism. I came home to a country that wouldn't let me eat at white lunch counters. I thought we had moved past that. Watching what happened to my granddaughter, in her own driveway, in front of her child, I realized we haven't moved as far as I hoped. Federal charges were filed within 6 weeks. Civil rights violations under color of law. Assault. Deprivation of rights. Margaret Hollis faced her own charges. Filing false police reports. Conspiracy to deprive civil rights. 47 documented instances of weaponizing law enforcement. The civil lawsuit followed. Dr. Thornton versus Kowalski, Hollis, and City of Chicago. Federal Court. Northern District of Illinois. The complaint was 63 pages long. The federal courtroom filled to capacity every day. Doctors in white coats beside veterans in dress uniforms. Communities united in outrage over what had been done to one of their own. Dr. Thornton testified in her Army dress uniform. The Bronze Star pinned to her chest. Combat action ribbon among her decorations. 14 years of medical service and 8 years of military service made visible. I've treated gunshot wounds while rockets exploded 50 feet away. I've performed surgery on soldiers who would have died without immediate intervention. None of that mattered to Officer Kowalski. He saw a black woman and decided I didn't belong in my own driveway, in my own neighborhood, in my own country. Her grandfather took the stand next. James Thornton Sr., 89 years old, wearing his Tuskegee Airman jacket. I was 19 when I enlisted. Black men weren't supposed to fly planes. That's what they told us. We proved them wrong over the skies of Europe. His voice cracked. I thought things had changed. Then I watched a video of my granddaughter, a doctor, a veteran, a mother, being told to go back to her country. In Chicago, where our family has lived for over 100 years. Zoe testified via video link. Appearing in court would have been too traumatic. I have nightmares. About police coming to our house. About someone hurting my mom. I used to feel safe in our driveway. Now I don't. Margaret Hollis was called as a hostile witness. Her 911 records displayed on screens. 47 calls. Every one targeting minorities. Every one unfounded. Why did you call police on Dr. Thornton? I didn't recognize her. She's lived 3 doors down for 3 years. You've called police on her twice before. Silence. You've called police 47 times in 5 years. Every call targeted Black or Hispanic neighbors. Not one resulted in charges. Can you explain that pattern? I was concerned about neighborhood safety. Whose safety, Ms. Hollis? Kowalski's attorney attempted the standard defense. Misunderstanding. Good faith. Inadequate training. The prosecutor played the bodycam footage. Go back to your country and stop causing problems. Does that sound like a misunderstanding? Does that sound like good faith? Officer Kowalski didn't misunderstand anything. He understood exactly who Dr. Thornton was. He just didn't care. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Liable on all counts. Kowalski, Hollis, and the city of Chicago. Compensatory damages, $7.7 million. Punitive damages, $12 million. Total, $19.7 million. The largest civil rights verdict against Chicago PD in a decade. The criminal case concluded weeks later. Kowalski, guilty on all federal charges. 4 years prison. Margaret Hollis, guilty of filing false reports. 2 years probation. 800 hours community service. The message was clear. The police superintendent addressed the department's failures publicly. New vetting protocols. Enhanced bias training. Civilian oversight of hiring. The systems that should have prevented Kowalski from ever wearing a badge. Dr. Thornton accepted the settlement with purpose. $5 million established the Chicago Roots Foundation, providing legal support for citizens wrongly accused based on race. The foundation's mission, ensuring no one would face what she faced alone. $2 million went to veteran support organizations, resources for those who served when they returned to a country that didn't always welcome them home. The remaining funds secured her family's future. College savings for Zoe. Security for generations to come. The brownstone on Fullerton now bears a plaque near the entrance. Small. Dignified. A statement of fact. The Thornton family, Chicago since 1918. Dr. Thornton was promoted to Chief of Emergency Medicine at Northwestern Memorial 6 months after the trial. She oversees the department where she spent 14 years saving lives, leading the team that handles every trauma, every cardiac arrest, every emergency. She speaks at medical conferences about composure under pressure. She tells the story of the driveway. Composure isn't about not feeling anger. It's about channeling anger into action. I felt rage that day. I also knew that my rage, properly documented, would become justice. Ryan Kowalski is serving his sentence at FCI Pekin in Illinois. He will be eligible for release in 3 years. His applications for appeal have been denied. Margaret Hollis completed her probation. She sold her Lincoln Park home and moved away. Her neighbors did not attend the farewell. Zoe Thornton is 13 now. The nightmares have faded. Therapy helped. She wants to be a doctor like her mother, so I can help people instead of hurting them. James Thornton Sr. passed away 8 months after the trial. 90 years old. One of the last Tuskegee Airmen. He lived long enough to see justice for his granddaughter. His obituary mentioned the trial, how he had testified about fighting for America and watching his family still fight for belonging. The Chicago Roots Foundation has assisted 247 cases in its first 2 years. citizens wrongly accused, families traumatized by encounters that never should have happened, each one receiving the legal support that made the difference between silence and accountability. Every Saturday morning, Dr. Thornton and Zoe walked through their Lincoln Park neighborhood, past the homes of neighbors who testified for them, past the spot where Morrison stood with his phone, past the driveway where it all happened. They walk with their heads high, because this is their neighborhood, their city, their country. 5 generations of Thorntons. Stockyards, Tuskegee, firehouses, operating rooms, combat zones. The officer who told her to leave is in a federal prison cell. The neighbor who called 911 47 times lost her home and her reputation. The city that failed to protect her paid $19.7 million to ensure it never happens again. And Dr. Camille Thornton still saves lives every day, still teaches residents how to stay calm when everything is chaos, still proves that the measure of a person isn't where they came from. It's what they do when the world tries to tell them they don't belong. One driveway, one officer, one verdict, and a family that will be Chicago forever.
Staff Sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. Isn't that obvious? The problem is this car doesn't match someone like you. Someone like me? I don't care if you served on the moon. Step out of the vehicle. I'm searching this car. I fought for this country. Bled for it. And you're gonna...
Kyle Brixton had lasted 3 weeks in Marine Corps boot camp before washing out. Couldn't handle the discipline. Couldn't handle being told what to do by drill instructors who demanded excellence. Couldn't handle the standards that separated Marines from everyone else. 16 weeks later, he was wearing a police badge, pulling over a black man in a BMW, and facing the exact kind of Marine who had broken him. A senior drill instructor with a Bronze Star, a Purple Heart, and 13 years of distinguished service. Staff Sergeant Darnell Washington had just served as pallbearer at a military funeral. He was wearing his dress blues. His medals were visible through the window. None of it mattered to an officer who had spent 16 weeks targeting black drivers and texting friends about teaching jarheads their place. Brixton threw a fallen Marine's memorial flag on the ground during his search. A retired sergeant major arrived as backup and ordered him to surrender his badge on the spot. 9 years federal prison. 3 weeks of boot camp couldn't make him a Marine. 16 weeks with a badge made him a felon. Arlington National Cemetery stretched across 639 acres of hallowed ground. Row upon row of white headstones. The final rest of those who had given everything. Corporal James "Jimmy" Reeves was laid to rest on a Wednesday afternoon. Full military honors. The Marine Corps Silent Drill Platoon. A 21-gun salute that echoed across the hills. Taps played by a lone bugler, the notes hanging in the cold December air. Staff Sergeant Darnell Washington stood at attention as one of 6 pallbearers. His dress blues were immaculate, ribbons stacked across his chest, medals gleaming in the winter sun. Bronze Star with Valor, Purple Heart, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, Combat Action Ribbon. 13 years of service displayed for the world to see. He had trained Jimmy Reeves, watched a nervous recruit from Ohio become a warrior, pushed him through the crucible, through the pain, through every moment that separated Marines from civilians. Jimmy had become one of the best. Then Afghanistan took him. IED, Helmand Province, the same region where Washington had earned his Bronze Star, where he had carried 2 wounded Marines to safety under enemy fire, where shrapnel had torn into his left shoulder and earned him the Purple Heart. The flag was folded with precision, 13 folds, each with meaning. It was presented to Jimmy's mother, a woman from Cleveland who had raised her son alone, who had watched him become something greater than either of them had imagined. Washington was tasked with delivering a second flag to her home after the service. A personal request from the family. A final honor. He placed the folded triangle on the passenger seat of his BMW X6 and began the drive home. His wife Keisha was expecting him for dinner. His 6-year-old son Darnell Jr. was waiting to see Daddy. The shortcut through Willow Creek saved 20 minutes. An affluent neighborhood he had never driven through. Large homes, manicured lawns, tree-lined streets. The kind of place he could afford now. After 13 years of service, after saving every deployment bonus, after building the life his childhood in Baltimore had never promised. He had grown up in poverty. Enlisted at 18 to escape, to build something better. First in his family, to own a home. The BMW was his reward. Years of sacrifice made tangible. The patrol car appeared in his rearview mirror at 4:43 p.m. Washington noticed immediately. 13 years of situational awareness. The cruiser had been parked on a side street, pulled out when he passed, followed at distance for 3 blocks. He checked his speed. 32 in a 35 zone. He verified his turn signal. Everything in order. The lights activated anyway. Washington pulled to the curb with the discipline of a man who had survived 3 combat deployments. He lowered his window fully. He placed both hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. Visible. Controlled. Exactly as he trained his recruits to handle high-stress situations. The officer who approached was young. White. Mid-20s. Uniform crisp. Badge number visible. 8847. His hand was already on his belt. The Axon Body 2 on Brixton's chest activated as he approached. Timestamp. 16 hours, 47 minutes, and 33 seconds. The lens captured Washington through the fully lowered window, dress blues filling the frame, ribbons and medals displayed across his chest, bronze star gleaming in the afternoon light. License and registration. Washington's hands remained on the steering wheel. His voice was measured. Calm. May I ask why I'm being stopped, officer? Failure to signal back there. License and registration. I signaled. Every turn. I didn't see it. License and registration. Washington reached slowly toward his jacket pocket, keeping his movements visible. He produced his military ID first, standard practice for service members, then his driver's license. Brixton took the documents. His eyes moved from the ID to Washington's face, then to the BMW's interior, then back to Washington. You want to tell me how you can afford a car like this? The question landed in the afternoon air. The Bodycam recorded it with perfect clarity. I'm a staff sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. Washington's voice remained level. Isn't that obvious? He gestured toward his uniform. The dress blues that announced exactly who he was. The ribbons that documented 13 years of service. The medals that represented combat, valor, sacrifice. Brixton's expression didn't change. Registration. Washington reached toward the glove compartment, slowly, deliberately, hands visible at all times. He produced the registration. His name. His address. The BMW's VIN matching the plates. Brixton examined the documents. Everything matched. Everything confirmed exactly what Washington had told him. He handed the documents back. Then he stepped away from the window and began circling the vehicle. The Bodycam captured his movement, around the front bumper, along the passenger's side, examining the BMW, as if searching for something that would justify what he had already decided. The problem is this car doesn't match someone like you. Washington's jaw tightened. The Bodycam captured the micro-expression, controlled anger held in check by years of discipline. Someone like me? Yeah, someone like you. What does that mean exactly? Brixton completed his circuit and returned to the driver's window. His posture had shifted, weight forward, hand near his belt. It means I've seen this before. Nice cars in neighborhoods like this, driven by people who can't explain where the money came from. I can explain exactly where the money came from. 13 years of military service. 3 combat deployments. Hazard pay. Deployment bonuses. Saving instead of spending. That's what they all say. They all say they're staff sergeants with bronze stars. I don't know what those ribbons mean. Could be fake. Washington looked at Brixton with an expression that had made recruits reconsider their life choices. The stare of a senior drill instructor who had shaped 1,500 Marines. These ribbons represent combat, tours you couldn't imagine. This medal, he touched the Bronze Star, was awarded for carrying 2 wounded Marines to safety under enemy fire while bleeding from shrapnel wounds. This uniform represents 13 years of service to a country that's supposed to treat its veterans better than this. Step out of the vehicle. On what grounds? I'm conducting an investigation. Into what? A Marine driving home from a funeral? Into how someone like you affords a car like this in a neighborhood like this. Washington's phone sat in the center console. Without taking his eyes off Brixton, he pressed a contact on the screen. Keisha answered on the second ring. Hey baby, you close? I've been pulled over. Willow Creek. I need you to listen to everything and don't hang up. A neighbor had emerged onto his porch across the street. Phone in hand. Recording. Put the phone down. Washington kept it in the center console, speaker active, Keisha listening to every word. My wife is on the line. She's documenting this encounter. I don't care who's on the line. Put it down. The phone stays where it is. What's your probable cause for detaining me? Your attitude is my probable cause. That's not how the Fourth Amendment works. Brixton's face flushed. The Bodycam captured it, the same reaction that had preceded every escalation documented in his short career. Step out of the vehicle. I'm searching this car. I don't consent to a search. I don't need your consent if I have reasonable suspicion. Reasonable suspicion of what? I'm a Marine in dress blues driving home from a military funeral. What exactly raises your suspicion? Brixton leaned closer to the window. His voice dropped, the tone of someone who believed he held all the power. I don't care if you served on the moon. Step out of the vehicle. I'm searching this car. Washington's response carried the weight of everything he had endured. Combat. Deployment. Carrying wounded brothers through enemy fire. The funeral he had just attended. I've fought for this country. Bled for it. And you're going to disrespect my uniform over a traffic stop? Last warning. That flag on my passenger seat is for a Marine's mother. A Marine I trained. A Marine who died serving the country you claim to protect. You want to search around that? Brixton keyed his radio. The Bodycam recorded the transmission. Dispatch, this is Unit 47. I've got a hostile driver refusing to cooperate with a lawful search. Requesting backup at my location. Washington heard every word. So did Keisha on the phone. So did the neighbor on the porch, still recording. Hostile. Washington's voice remained controlled, but the anger beneath it was unmistakable. I've answered every question. I've provided every document. I've explained exactly who I am and where I came from. What's hostile about that? Your attitude. My attitude is disciplined. My attitude is what kept me alive in Helmand Province. My attitude is what trains Marines to serve with honor. If that seems hostile to you, the problem isn't me. Brixton drew his weapon. The Glock cleared the holster and leveled at Washington's chest. The Bodycam captured the draw, smooth, practiced, the motion of someone who had made this decision before the encounter began. Step out of the vehicle. Now. You're pointing a weapon at a decorated combat veteran. I'm pointing a weapon at someone who won't follow lawful commands. There's nothing lawful about this stop. Nothing lawful about your questions. Nothing lawful about the search you're trying to conduct without probable cause. Out. Now. Washington looked at the weapon. At the officer holding it. At the neighbor still recording from the porch. At the Bodycam that would document whatever came next. I'm going to step out. Slowly. My hands will be visible at all times. I have no weapons. I am complying under duress with what I believe to be an unlawful order, and I'm stating that clearly for the record. He opened the door. He stepped out with the measured movements of a man who had faced worse than this. His dress blues caught the afternoon light. Every ribbon, every medal, every symbol of sacrifice visible to the camera and the neighbor and anyone who would later watch this footage. He stood beside his own vehicle, hands raised, bronze star gleaming on his chest. Hands on the car. Washington complied. What happened next would be watched by millions. Brixton closed the distance in 2 aggressive strides. His hand grabbed Washington's shoulder and slammed him against the BMW. The impact drove Washington's chest into the metal. His metal scraped against the door, the bronze star leaving a mark on the paint. Spread your legs. Washington complied. He had been searched before, in combat zones, in tactical situations, by allies and adversaries alike. He knew what compliance looked like. He knew how to survive. I'm a staff sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. I have no weapons. I'm fully complying with your orders. Shut up. Brixton's hands moved across Washington's body. Aggressive. Unnecessary. The pat-down of someone searching for a justification rather than contraband. He found nothing. I just came from a funeral. A Marine's funeral. Is this how you treat veterans? I treat everyone the same. No, you don't. You saw a black man in a nice car and decided that was enough. I said shut up. Brixton turned to the BMW. He opened the driver's door. He began tearing through the interior. Console, glove compartment, under the seats. Searching for drugs that didn't exist. Searching for contraband that had never been there. His hand found the folded American flag on the passenger seat. 13 folds. Perfect triangle. The same flag that had covered Corporal James Reeves' casket 3 hours earlier. Brixton picked it up. He examined it briefly. Then he tossed it aside. The flag landed on the ground. In the dirt. On the shoulder of a suburban street in Willow Creek, Virginia. Washington saw it fall. His body went rigid. Not from fear, but from something deeper. The rage of a man who had watched brothers die. who had carried that flag in honor, who understood what it represented. That flag was for his mother. His voice cracked. 13 years of discipline. 3 combat deployments. Carrying wounded Marines under fire. Nothing had broken him like watching that flag hit the dirt. Pick it up. Brixton continued searching the vehicle. He didn't respond. I said pick it up. It's evidence. Evidence of what? It's a memorial flag. It was given to me at Arlington National Cemetery 3 hours ago. It belongs to the mother of a Marine who died serving this country. Keisha's voice came through the phone still active in the center console. Crying. Darnell? Baby, what's happening? They threw Jimmy's flag on the ground. Oh my God. Oh my God. The neighbor on the porch had moved closer, still recording. His phone captured what the Bodycam might miss. The angle of the flag in the dirt, the Marine in dress blues pressed against his car, the officer tearing through the vehicle. Brixton found nothing. No drugs. No weapons. No contraband of any kind. He emerged from the BMW empty-handed. You can go. Pick up the flag first. What? Pick up the flag. It's on the ground. You pick it up. You threw it there. You pick it up. Blue lights appeared at the end of the street. Backup arriving. Washington remained against his vehicle, hands still raised, watching the patrol car approach. The door opened. A man stepped out. Older, white. The bearing of someone who had worn a uniform long before he wore a badge. He saw the dress blues first, then the medals, then the flag on the ground. His face changed. Brixton. The voice carried command. Stand down. The supervisor approached at a jog. His eyes moved across Washington's ribbons, recognizing each one, understanding what they meant. He stopped 3 feet away. He straightened, and he saluted. Staff Sergeant, I am so sorry. The supervisor held his salute. Washington, still pressed against his vehicle, couldn't return it. I served 24 years in the Corps. Sergeant Major Thomas O'Brien. Retired. Then you know what that flag means. O'Brien looked at the folded triangle lying in the dirt. His expression shifted from shock to fury. Brixton, did you do that? Sir, I was conducting a search. Did you throw that flag on the ground? Silence. Answer me. It was on the passenger seat. I moved it. You threw an American flag, a memorial flag, on the ground during a traffic stop? O'Brien walked to where the flag lay. He bent down. He picked it up with both hands, brushing off the dirt with reverence, the respect of someone who had carried flags like this himself. He brought it to Washington. Staff Sergeant, this belongs to you. Washington took the flag. He held it against his chest, the same way he had held it at Arlington, the same way he would hold it when he delivered it to Jimmy's mother. Who was it for? Corporal James Reeves. I trained him. He was killed in Afghanistan. O'Brien closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, they were fixed on Brixton. You just assaulted a decorated combat veteran. You disgraced that uniform. He pointed to Washington's dress blues in this department. You desecrated a memorial flag for a fallen Marine. Sir, he was being hostile. I heard the Bodycam audio. I was monitoring the channel. He was being cooperative. He was being accurate. You were being everything a police officer should never be. O'Brien extended his hand. Your badge. Your weapon. Now. You can't. I can. I am. You're relieved of duty effective immediately, pending investigation. Hand them over. Brixton stood frozen. 16 weeks of wearing a badge, ending on a suburban street while a staff sergeant clutched a memorial flag to his chest. He unclipped his badge. He surrendered his weapon. O'Brien took them without ceremony. Go sit in my vehicle. Do not speak. Do not move. Do not touch anything. Brixton walked away. His patrol car sat behind him. Bodycam footage already uploaded. Evidence already preserved. O'Brien turned back to Washington. Staff Sergeant, I need to document your injuries. I need to preserve this scene. And I need to make phone calls that are going to end that man's career. My wife is on the phone. She heard everything. Good. She's a witness. Washington looked at the flag in his hands, at the dirt still visible on the white fabric. He threw it like it was garbage. I know. That flag covered a Marine's casket this morning. A Marine who gave everything. I know. And he threw it in the dirt. O'Brien placed his hand on Washington's shoulder, the gesture of one veteran to another. We're going to make this right. FBI. Federal charges. Everything by the book. That officer is going to pay for what he did, not just to you, but to Corporal Reeves, to his mother, to everyone who served. Washington's wife was still on the phone, crying. Darnell? Baby? Are you okay? I'm okay. It's over. What happened to the flag? Washington looked at the folded triangle in his hands. The dirt was brushed away. The fabric was intact. I'm bringing it home. Then I'm bringing it to Jimmy's mom. The neighbor approached slowly, phone still recording. I got everything. From my porch. Whatever you need. O'Brien nodded. We're going to need all of it. The Bodycam footage was in FBI hands within 24 hours. The neighbor's phone video provided a second angle, capturing what the chest-mounted camera might have missed, including the moment Brixton threw the flag. Both recordings went viral within days. 80 million views across platforms. The image of a Marine in dress blues pressed against his own vehicle, a memorial flag in the dirt, became the defining visual of veteran discrimination for an entire year. But the footage only told part of the story. The investigation would reveal the rest. Officer Kyle Brixton had applied to the Marine Corps at age 18. He had lasted 3 weeks in boot camp before washing out. Failure to adapt was the official designation. He couldn't handle the discipline. Couldn't handle drill instructors demanding excellence. Couldn't handle being told that his best wasn't good enough. The resentment had calcified over 6 years. It showed in his social media posts, mocking affirmative action soldiers, questioning diversity promotions, suggesting that black service members had achieved rank through politics rather than merit. It showed in his text messages, conversations with friends joking about teaching jarheads their place, comments about Marines thinking they're better than everyone. A message sent 2 weeks before the Washington incident. These military guys in their nice cars act like they own everything. Someone needs to check them. It showed in his stop records. 11 civilian contacts in 16 weeks. All traffic stops. All targeting black drivers in affluent neighborhoods. 0 citations issued. 0 arrests made. Just stops. Demands for registration. Questions about vehicle ownership. The systematic harassment of people who had committed no crime. His father was a retired police officer. Thomas Brixton Sr. had spent 30 years on the force before retiring with full pension. When his son applied to Willow Creek PD despite the red flags, the boot camp washout, the psychological evaluation concerns, the social media presence that should have disqualified any candidate, the elder Brixton made phone calls. Kyle was hired despite documented concerns. Staffing shortages. Departmental pressure. A father's influence. The Marine Corps issued an official statement within 72 hours of the incident, condemning the treatment of Staff Sergeant Washington, demanding accountability, making clear that attacks on Marines in uniform were attacks on the institution itself. The FBI's investigation expanded beyond Brixton to examine department hiring practices. How had someone with his background been approved? Who had overridden the concerns? What systems had failed? Federal prosecutors treated the case as a priority. Civil rights violations under color of law. Assault on a service member. Deprivation of rights. Desecration of a memorial flag, a federal offense that carried its own enhanced penalties. The flag became the centerpiece of the prosecution's case. Not just fabric, not just symbolism. A memorial entrusted to a veteran, meant for a grieving mother, thrown in the dirt by an officer who saw it as evidence in a search that had no legal basis. Washington provided testimony over 2 days. He walked through everything. The funeral at Arlington, the drive home, the stop, the search, the moment he saw the flag hit the ground. I've survived ambushes. I've carried wounded Marines under fire. I've been hit by shrapnel and kept fighting. Nothing prepared me for watching that flag land in the dirt. The grand jury returned indictments within 4 weeks. Civil rights violations. Assault. Deprivation of rights. Desecration of a memorial flag. Trial was scheduled in federal court. Eastern District of Virginia, the same district where Washington had served, where he had built his career, where he had earned every ribbon on his chest. The evidence was overwhelming. The outcome was never in doubt. The federal courtroom filled to capacity every day of the trial. Marines in dress uniforms filled one section. Brothers who had served with Washington, recruits he had trained, officers who understood what the case represented. The Bodycam footage was played first. The jury watched Brixton approach the window. They watched him ask how Washington could afford a car like this. They watched him circle the vehicle claiming it doesn't match someone like you. They watched him throw a memorial flag on the ground during a search that found nothing. The audible gasp came when the flag landed in the dirt. Jurors who had remained impassive through the earlier footage visibly reacted, heads shaking, hands covering mouths. The neighbor's phone video provided the second angle. The prosecutor synced both recordings, showing the moment from two perspectives simultaneously. "This is what Officer Brixton did to a memorial flag," the prosecutor said. "Not just any flag. The flag that covered Corporal James Reeves' casket at Arlington National Cemetery. The flag entrusted to Staff Sergeant Washington to deliver to a grieving mother." Marie Reeves took the stand on the third day. Jimmy's mother, the woman who had raised him in Cleveland, watched him become a Marine, received the first flag at his funeral. "That flag was supposed to come to me." Her voice broke. "Staff Sergeant Washington was bringing it to my home, and that officer threw it in the dirt like it was garbage." She looked at the jury. "Watching that video killed my son a second time." The prosecution called character witnesses for Washington, Marines he had trained who credited him with making them warriors. A general who had served with him in Afghanistan and called him the finest NCO I've ever commanded. The two Marines whose lives he had saved in Helmand Province. Both testified about the ambush, about Washington carrying them to safety under fire, about the shrapnel wound he sustained while refusing to leave them behind. Washington testified in his dress blues, the same uniform he had worn that afternoon, the same medals that Brixton had scraped against the BMW. "I've served this country for 13 years. 3 combat deployments. I've been shot at, blown up, and watched friends die. I never expected to be treated like a criminal in my own country by someone wearing a badge while I was wearing this uniform." He held up the flag, the same one Brixton had thrown, now preserved as evidence. "This flag represents everything I've fought for. It represents Corporal Reeves' sacrifice. And Officer Brixton threw it in the dirt because he couldn't imagine that a black man in a nice car might have earned what he had." The defense attempted the standard strategy. Misunderstanding. Good faith. No way to know. The prosecutor's rebuttal was devastating. He couldn't have known. Staff Sergeant Washington was wearing Marine Corps dress blues. His medals were visible through the window. He identified himself as a staff sergeant. He explained he was coming from a funeral. Officer Brixton did not know. He didn't care. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Brixton showed no reaction as the verdicts were read. His father was not in the courtroom. His attorney had advised against it. Sentencing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. Washington remained in the gallery after the verdict. Marines surrounded him, hands on shoulders, murmured words of respect. Semper Fidelis. Always faithful. The flag sat in an evidence bag at the prosecutor's table. It would be returned to Washington after sentencing, and he would finally deliver it to Marie Reeves. Sentencing drew national attention. The case had become a symbol, a decorated combat veteran humiliated in his own country by an officer who couldn't handle 3 weeks of boot camp. The judge reviewed the pre-sentencing report with visible contempt. The boot camp washout, the resentment, the social media posts, the pattern of stops targeting black drivers, the father's influence in hiring. "Officer Brixton, you couldn't complete Marine Corps training. You couldn't handle the discipline required to serve. And when you encountered someone who had earned everything you couldn't achieve, you decided to humiliate him." She paused. "You asked a Bronze Star recipient how he could afford his car. You told him he didn't match his neighborhood. You threw a memorial flag for a fallen Marine in the dirt. You did all of this while wearing a badge you never deserved." The sentence: 9 years federal prison. Enhanced for targeting a service member. Enhanced for flag desecration. Enhanced for the documented pattern of civil rights violations. Brixton was led from the courtroom in handcuffs. His 16-week career had cost him nearly a decade of freedom. His father, Thomas Brixton Sr., faced investigation for corrupt influence in hiring practices. His pension was suspended pending review. His reputation, 30 years of service, collapsed under the weight of what his phone calls had enabled. The police chief resigned before he could be forced out. 3 supervisors who had approved Brixton's application were terminated. The department entered a DOJ consent decree requiring federal oversight for 5 years. The city settled with Washington for $8.2 million within 4 months. He divided the money with purpose. $2 million established the Corporal James Reeves Memorial Scholarship Fund, providing education assistance for children of fallen Marines. The first scholarship would be awarded to Jimmy's nephew. $1 million went to veteran legal defense organizations. ensuring that service members facing discrimination had access to representation. The remaining funds went to his family. College savings for Darnell Jr. security for Keisha. The stability he had always wanted to provide. The neighbor who had recorded from his porch, Gregory Matthews, 63, retired accountant, was honored by the NAACP for his courage in documenting the incident. His video had provided the angle that showed the flag landing in the dirt. "I saw a Marine being disrespected," Matthews said. "I had to do something." Washington was promoted to gunnery sergeant 6 months after the incident. He continues serving as senior drill instructor at Quantico, training the next generation of Marines with even more determination. He uses his story in training now, tells recruits about dignity, about resilience, about representing the Corps even when the country fails to respect it. He testified before Congress on veteran discrimination, a closed session of the Armed Services Committee that resulted in recommendations for enhanced protections for service members facing police encounters. Kyle Brixton is currently serving his sentence at FCI Petersburg in Virginia. He will be eligible for release in 2033. His applications for appeal have been denied twice. His father has not visited. Darnell Washington still drives the same BMW X6. He still takes shortcuts through Willow Creek sometimes, not to make a point, but because it's the fastest route home. The memorial flag he retrieved from the dirt now hangs in Marie Reeves' living room in Cleveland. Framed, protected, a reminder of her son's sacrifice and the Marine who made sure it reached her despite everything. Washington was recently selected for Sergeant Major Academy, the highest enlisted professional education in the Marine Corps. When he completes it, he will be one step from the top of the enlisted ranks. 3 weeks washed Brixton out of boot camp. 13 years made Washington a legend. The uniform doesn't lie.